Hi guys, so a Tory MP dropped a massive Brexit bombshell on Boris Johnson's government in the House of Commons on Wednesday, and it really rattled the front bench, which I'll show you in a moment. Now, the question by Rodger, Gale MP is fantastic for so many reasons. First, he's a Tory, so Johnson can't just dismiss the question in the same way that he would if it had come from a Labour or SNP MP. Second, Rodger doesn't mention Brexit, but we all know he's talking about Brexit here. He gives an example of a company, a business that's suffering a lack of workers, which is, of course, due to Brexit. But the masterstroke in Rodger's question is that he uses the government's own excuses against them. This being, it's the pandemic, by using a COVID visa system to help companies in his constituency deal with the problem of staff shortages. Let's see Rodger in action.
Mr. Speaker, I know that my right honourable friend wants to see the United Kingdom growing more crops. We're not going to blaze a trail to self-sufficiency by building over our finest agricultural land. That's got to stop now. On this back British farming day, we're at harvest time. And Mr. Speaker, all is not safely gathered in. In 3 weeks, Thanet Earth in my constituency, one of the largest glasshouse companies in the country, growing tomatoes, has had to trash £320,000 worth of produce because of no pickers and no drivers.
Look at the faces. Look at the faces on the front bench. Let me just show you again. Priti Patel looking very concerned. Rishi Sunak concerned. Boris Johnson extremely concerned. Because they know he's talking about Brexit here. He's not talking about COVID. They know the game is up. Members of the Conservative Party are no longer taking the excuse, no longer running with the excuse, it's the pandemic. We just have to blame the pandemic. Because figures released on Wednesday or on Thursday from the UK government itself say that employment levels have returned to pre-COVID levels. Meaning that you have basically full employment again. But there are shortages. So if there are shortages, it means it's not the pandemic, it's something else. And we know, of course, it's Brexit. So it's great to see the front bench extremely concerned here because they know it's Brexit, but they have to continue to push the idea, push this narrative in the public sphere that it's the pandemic. But it's no longer working, it's running out of steam.
Because of a lack of labour force, the crops are rotting in the fields and on our trees. Mr. Speaker, will my right honourable friend seek to introduce immediately a COVID recovery visa so that...
I love this. No mention of Brexit. A COVID recovery visa to allow workers to come back in from the European Union. Basically a Brexit visa, but let's call it a COVID visa. Are you going to do this? And he's really put Boris Johnson in a tight spot here because Boris Johnson, if he responds by saying no, then he'll have to say, well, why not? Don't we have this problem because of the pandemic? But then if he says yes, he's basically opening the door to, well, why aren't we doing this before? Companies have asked you to allow workers from abroad to come back in. So he's going to demonstrate that Brexit is not working, basically.
This year's crops are not lost.
I thank my right honourable friend, and he's absolutely right in what he says about the importance of buying British and eating British. Our food is the best in the world. He's right also to address the problems in the supply chain that we're currently seeing, but we are taking steps. And of course, this has been a problem for a long time. But what we have is the seed.
What? You were supposed to say this is the pandemic. This is a problem of the pandemic. You can't say this has been a problem for a long time. Your response has always been, it's the pandemic. Once the pandemic is over, the problems will go away. But if employment levels have returned to post or pre-pandemic levels, then it's something else, Boris.
seasonal agricultural workers scheme, which we will use to ensure that British farms get the labour that they need.
So we're going to have something in the future to sort out this problem. So the fruit and vegetables are rotting in the fields at the moment, but don't worry, we're going to have some sort of scheme to bring people on board in the future. That's not going to, of course, to resolve the problems of today. Boris Johnson has no solution to this. Now, the solution, of course, is to have something similar to freedom of movement, or at least have some sort of temporary visa scheme. But I've highlighted before the problems of a temporary visa is that it's not going to encourage people to move to Britain to live. It's just going to get a small section of people to come over to work and then return to their own country. But the whole crux of Brexit was to stop foreigners from coming into the country in the first place. So I think this was a wonderful question asked by Rodger. Congratulations to him for asking these questions. And the fact that he turned it into a COVID question and not a Brexit question, I do really think was a masterstroke. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?